Welcome to a special edition of the Behind the Art Inspiration podcast, where we delve into the creative processes and stories of 14 artists from around the world. In these episodes, we go behind the scenes with artists who are part of the International Online Art Collective, learning about their inspiration, challenges, and techniques while collaborating on our chain reaction project. Beginning with one single piece, each piece informs the next, provoking a chain reaction of other artworks until we have created a total of 100 artworks assembled into one big multimedia installation. In this episode, we have the pleasure of interviewing artist Ruth Christensen, who hails from, where are you right now, Ruth? Because I don't know.
Right now, I'm in Dorset in the UK.
Gotcha. Through our conversation with Ruth, we'll gain insights into her creative process and the inspirations that drive her work. I'm your host, Caroline Karp, and I'm excited to bring you this episode from my DC studio. So sit back, relax, and join us as we go behind the art and discover the fascinating world of Ruth. Ruth, you have a special part in this entire project. And I've been waiting to get your what did you do? What did you do here to get us all reacting to your idea?
Well, what did I do? I just asked.
Yeah, but where did you come up with the idea? What was, just very short, what was your vision and how is it coming together?
So to answer the first part first, I had an idea 2 years ago. We all know that time very well. We were all locked down, and we as artists were all locked down in our individual studios in our different countries. And I was enjoying the Zoom calls and things. The International Online Art Collective had been formed before that. And I had been loving the Zoom calls and looking forward to them, and vocally collaborating with the artists. But I wanted more. I wanted a way that this whole wonderful group of people could work together in an artistic, connected way. I was missing connection, and I really felt that I wanted to feel a stronger artistic connection with them. And out of the blue came this idea. I thought, well, how about we do a thing where each piece of art that we do inspires the next person. And the idea was born, and then it grew legs, and it turned into this great big creature that it is today. And here we are, almost 2 years on. We're actually on the last round now. And here we are, we're doing this thing and we're almost finished. And I am so thankful to all you guys of the International Online Art Collective for coming with me on this. What seemed like a bit of a crazy idea to start with, but once everybody got involved and believed that it really was a thing, it was really going to happen, then it's happening.
Yeah, so doing this little journey where I've actually spent this week interviewing all the artists. So, 14 podcasts, but I love podcasting, so it's not a problem. Before each artist go into the Google document, which is so nicely curated, everybody has their work in progress, videos, narratives. So I learn about each artist and how they've been inspired by the artists before. So it's kind of like a deep dive into what's going on. So when I looked at your work, of course, I loved when Poseidon popped out of the water. Tell us about that journey, because yesterday I interviewed Guillermo and found out how he took joy and kind of flipped it. Like, I think I was the artist who sent him, kind of a beautiful painting of two people walking along the seaside and how joyous they were. Can you continue the story from there?
Oh, yes. I remember this one specifically because I received his narrative, and I was on the boat at the time. So I go sailing in the summer, and I spend 3 or 4 months sailing on a boat. And creating art on a boat is very tricky. But I signed up for this, so we're going to do it, and I will do my little link in the chain on the boat if that's the time that it happens. And sure enough, I was on the boat, and I received his narrative before I received the artwork, and the narrative just set me going. He talked about your lovely sweet painting, and how he needed to do something to like counteract that and take it to the dark, and of course I went into battle in the opposite direction, because I wanted to haul it back out of the dark again and back into the light. And I was in the sea at the time, and the internet connection was so bad that the image of his artwork wouldn't open. The email wouldn't open. So I had the narrative, just the Word file to work from. And so I'd already decided, even based on his narrative, I'd already decided what I was going to paint. And I needed to, I just felt the need to paint something that saved the world from the darkness. And seafarers see Neptune as or a lot of seafarers see Neptune as their protector, and often do ritualistic toasts and things to Neptune or Poseidon. So yeah, this was my tribute to the god of the sea. We were in Greece at the time, so I'm saying Neptune, but we were in Greece at the time, so you're absolutely right. It was Poseidon who was saving me from the darkness. So yeah, that was an interesting one that I got set off.
It's funny because since I've been talking to one, I can trace it to before Guillermo and before me. Before me was Gerda, and she reacted to Wendy, and Wendy had painted a buzzard that had a really bright orange background. And so when Gerda got it, she wanted to change it from that orange into more of a serene seaside with one figure. So that you see how it is the opposite of the orange, right? So that flowed into Gerda taking us to the seaside, and then I continued the seaside, and then there was Guillermo. And then you took us back to the ocean.
Back to the sea.
Do you remember who was after you in that one?
No, I can check.
Because somebody did talk about that, about reacting to the Poseidon, and I can't remember who it is. Oh no. That's okay. Another one that I can remember from your reactions, and then I want to go back to you starting, the very first painting, but one that I reacted to was from you when you were on your boat again. And I knew that you were on your boat before you sent me your image. So I was picturing Ruth on a boat, but what you sent me was the moon jellies. And so the moon jellies are from under the water, right? And so they're tentacles going everywhere. So a little sneak peek, you're going to be interviewing me soon about the same project, so I don't want to talk too much about it. But tell us about the moon jellies and how you were inspired to paint the moon jellies.
The moon jellies, I remember being a tricky one. Some ideas come to you really easily, and some other ideas take some time. And we've been given a week to do our artwork, and I was quite a distance through the week before I started this one, because it was tricky. Cheryl had sent me this magnificent big full moon image And I could not get away from this big full moon. All I could see on my, it was the time of the full moon, and that's a big thing also for, for sailors. The moon affects the tides a lot. The moon affects the sea state and the weather. But she sent me this beautiful big full moon, and I could think about nothing but a big full moon, and it was really hard for me not to just paint another big full moon, but I didn't want to copy it. I wanted to do something different, and I was racking my brains. What on earth can I paint that's not just a moon? And then the moon jellies just appeared to me, and they had been coming up this year. There've been a lot of them in the sea. For some reason, this year they've been blooming a lot in the Mediterranean, and I thought that's perfect. I paint the moon jellies, and sure enough, they blossomed, which is kind of what they do, right? They have like these blooms of jellyfish in the sea, which are quite a big, again, another quite a big thing for sailors and certainly swimmers. You don't want to be swimming amongst these little creatures, so they can't. If there's a lot of them, or if there's several of them around your boat, it keeps you on the boat. But at the same time, there's something magical about them, because they're both very present, but also very ancient. These moon jellies have been around for centuries, unchanged. These magnificent little, they're such poetic little things. The way they seamlessly just pulsate through the water. They're really the most beautiful creatures, and they were such a pleasure to paint and draw. I'd say more fun to draw than paint, if I can say, with the materials that I was using. But I really, really enjoyed doing that one. Once I got into it, I really enjoyed it.
Are their tentacles that long?
They are very long, yes. Yeah, and they wrap. If you happen to be in the sea at the time, they wrap around you, and it's kind of unpleasant. Very, very stingy.
Yeah.
So they're beautiful, but with a sting in the tail as well.
So Ruth, I'm gonna open it up to you to discuss what you would like to discuss about chain reaction.
Well, you mentioned also that I kicked the whole thing off. And so it was my pleasure to do the first link, the very first link in the chain. And oh my goodness, there was no pressure attached to that at all. So I didn't have inspiration to go from. All I had to go from was my inspiration of the project. And how do you start a project like this, knowing that it's going to go on for, hopefully go on for 100 weeks, and how do you start that? So it was a beautiful period of where we are. It was a beautiful period of summer. I was still in England at the time. It was a magnificent period of English summer weather, and I painted outdoors. Yeah, thoroughly enjoyed painting a bit of a self-portrait in the garden. I thought that was a kind of an appropriate thing to start off with.
And you quoted something there. You had a little quote there. Let's see, that I wrote down. I have been moving this all around. Sorry about that, everybody, but the sun was chasing me. Something about she is the garden.
Oh yes, yeah, because the garden, and also it's a house that we hadn't been in for very long either, and we had inherited this beautiful garden, so I was really enjoying spending time in it. And so the piece is called Curious, because I was really curious. I was feeling curious. Everything about me was curious at the time as to how this project was going to go. So as I was painting, I was feeling very curious, and her name, the name of the painting is Curious, and she was so curious about everything that's around her and about what was gonna happen, and she was so curious about her surroundings that she was becoming the garden. So she ends up with leaves in her hair, and she takes on the colors in the garden. And yeah, so she's becoming the garden.
And it's kind of a metaphor of planting seeds, like you're planting seeds for the project, and then now all the seeds are blooming.
Beautifully said. Yes,
Mhm.
yes, yes. Nicely put.
Yes. So, Ruth, where can people learn more about you and your art?
Well, I'm on Instagram. If you look for Ruth Christensen on Instagram, you find me there. You'll find me, of course, in the International Online Art Collective. We all take our turns of posting there on Instagram and also on Facebook. You'll find me on Facebook again, Ruth Christensen, and there's a website coming soon, but that's work in progress at the moment. So
So
that'll come.
I'll put some of that in the show notes, as well as all the information of where people can find out about Chain Reaction and the
Perfect.
International Online Art Collective. And I want to thank everybody out there, as well as you, Ruth, for joining me today, and where we could share our love of collaboration, connection, and art. So
Thank you
thank
for
you.
having me. It's been a great pleasure.
Bye.